Hello, everybody. My name is MJ the Tutor, and you are listening to Accounting Makes Sense, an MJ the Tutor podcast. This podcast focuses on helping accounting students by offering them a quick warm-up on various accounting and business topics that hopefully leads to the generation of bigger conversations and discussions around them. For all those studying or thinking about doing CIMA right now, this episode is for you. In this episode, we're going to discuss the difference between objective test exams and case study exams, both of which you'll encounter if you're studying CIMA right now. Make sure to stay till the end to hear the reasons behind the case study exams so that you understand it and that you can better prepare for it. Anyways, I'd like to start off with a brief overview of the CIMA professional qualification. This is for the benefit of those who are just starting out or are still trying to maneuver the ins and outs of CIMA. On the professional qualification, there are 3 levels. You have the operational, management, and strategic levels. Normally, in each level, you'd be facing 4 exams, an objective test exam for each of the 3 pillars, and then 1 case study exam to wrap up that level. Now, I know everybody's going to be on a different trajectory. Some students get exemptions and so on, so it might not be the same for everyone. But for most, it will follow the flow of the 3 objective tests and 1 case study. Now, that's out of the way. Let's look at the differences. The number 1 difference between an OT and a case study is the focus. For the objective test exams, or the OTs as it is called, these are very specific and tailored for each of the pillars. By the way, I don't know if I've mentioned the pillars just yet, but the 3 pillars are enterprise pillar, financial pillar, and performance pillar. Or sometimes they are just referred to as E, F, or P. You'll find students will talk about E2, which means it's the enterprise pillar on the management level, and we'll take F3 as an example, that is the financial pillar on the strategic level, and so on. So you get the picture. Anyways, as mentioned, we get the OTs, which are focused on particular pillars. I think OTs do ease you into the way things are with CIMA. To study for the OT is very similar to elementary school studying. So you are reverted to the way you know how to do things, where you memorize information, drone it into your head to remember and recall when you need them. The technical topics covered by the OT exams are varied, and the difficulty notches up as you go along each level. Now, I'm going to touch on the pillars. We have the enterprise pillar, which covers enterprise operations and processes, policies with regards to HR, marketing, strategies. Now, we also have the financial pillar, which covers the financial statements, calculations, policies and strategies, and accounting standards. Now, the third pillar, which is performance, looks at performance measurements and management, as well as business risks and strategies and policies surrounding that. Now, for case studies, you become eligible to take the case study exam for that level after you've done the 3 OTs. Where the focus of the OTs is on specific subject matters, the main material for case studies is around the pre-scene materials. CIMA releases 1 pre-scene material for each of the level, and students are given the chance to immerse themselves in the pre-scene world to be able to tackle the exam questions from the eyes of someone who works for that pre-scene company. However, while the focus is different, what you've learned from the OTs with regards to your technical topics will still be relevant to your case study preparation. I know there are differing opinions about this, but I'm a proponent that case studies are a lot harder to pass without that technical knowledge behind you. What throws a lot of students off is how to use that technical knowledge in a case study exam. The information you gained from studying for an OT is used differently in an OT exam and is used differently in a case study exam. Think about it that it's a different kind of exam, so the studying would be, of course, different as well. So the number 2 difference is the timing of the exams. The beauty of studying for OT is that you can take each pillar one at a time. If you decide that you are going for F1, for example, then you'd be spending the next couple of weeks studying about financial information, the rules, and the standards. And then you take the exam. You will then move on to E1, so you'll focus your energies on looking at HR processes, marketing strategies, and so on for that exam, so that you're able to take it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one at a time. You can do 2 or 3 OT exams simultaneously, but it can get overwhelming, especially if you haven't quite gotten your study groove yet. Now, for case study, there are 4 intake sessions in a year: February, May, August, and November. 2 sessions share 1 pre-scene. This is true as at the time of this episode going live, which is the end of 2021, early 2022. There is 1 pre-scene for the November and February exam, and 1 pre-scene for May and August exams. If you are on the first session just after a new pre-scene material is released, you have around 6 to 7 weeks to prepare before the exam week. If you are on the second session, then you have more time to prepare. I suppose because the pre-scene would have been out at least 3 months before you take your case study exams. So as for timing, you are able to take an OT exam anytime, you just need to book it, whereas in a case study, you are locked within a session. So if you need to take a case study exam, you will need to do it either on the months of February, May, August, or November. The number 3 difference is the exam format. The OT exams are set out in a way that you get short questions. Well, it's a set of questions, but the questions are built where there are correct and incorrect answers. There are different formats for the questions. Some would be in multiple choice, multiple responses, fill in the blanks, and so on. The marking, I feel, is a bit inflexible and harsh, to be honest, since if you have a multiple responses question and there are 3 out of 4 correct answers on the question and you only picked out 2 out of 4, then you don't get the mark. Now, with case study exams, the questions are set as scenarios. CIMA calls them triggers. Remember that you are given the pre-scene material to set the scene for you. The triggers normally will describe something happening to the company, a new opportunity being presented, a new risk that the company needs to face, and you are then asked how to address it in a variety of ways. The type of answers on the case study are long format essays. It's all about writing and getting your points across. In this parting segment, I just want to talk briefly about why the need for case study. Why? CIMA developed the case study in essence to allow future CIMA accountants to demonstrate their understanding of the topics that they've just learned. It's good and well that you know about the balance scorecard but how does it really work? This is why the case study was created. It's to test the development of students from having purely theoretical knowledge to being able to apply this knowledge in a practical business setting. So how does one start preparing for the case study? Well, for that information, I think I'll segue that into a new episode. I will end off here, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode, learning more about CIMA, the OTs, and the case studies. As always, thank you for listening till the end. I am your host, MJ the Tutor, and you were just listening to Accounting Makes Sense. If you're keen to connect to be updated with the arrival of the new episodes of this podcast or find CIMA resources online, please head on over to my website, www.mjthetutor.com. You can also hit subscribe on whichever platform you are using to listen to this podcast. If you want to connect with me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under the name MJ the Tutor. And that's it. I'll see you on the next episodes. Ciao for now.